Hey 21st century students, this is going to be the tutorial on how to use Pixlr to create your infographic. What I'm going to be showing you is some tips and tricks that you can use in Pixlr to create something that moves beyond circles and squares and diamonds and stars. So I'm not actually going to create an infographic because you've got all the information that you need. You've got the tools for the layout. If you don't remember those, go back to part 2 and look at examples of professional examples of infographics, and go to part 3 and look at student examples. So let's get started. To begin, and you should probably be writing this stuff down as you go along so that you can come back to some of these specific things, such as the size. All right, so as you can see, I have Pixlr open, right? I'm going to get rid of that advertisement because that's highly annoying. Maybe I'm not getting rid of it. Okay, well, whatever. So I'm going to go over to Create New. Remember, you are in Pixlr E. It absolutely has to be Pixlr E so you get all the tools. And I'm going to go over and I'm going to Create New. By default, it comes up as Full HD, which is exactly what we want. I'm going to go to the right. Now this time I'm going to put my name and I'm going to title it Infographic. Okay? Now this is probably what you want to write down. So the width of this is going to be 768 pixels. And the height is going to be 1,344. I'm going to let that sit there for just a minute. I want you to see those numbers. Okay? 760 pixels wide, 1,344 pixels tall. What this actually comes out to be, if this were inches, it would be 8 by 14. So it's going to give you plenty of width, and it's going to give you a lot of height to work with for your infographic. One thing that we haven't looked at before is right here is a button that's called Background. I want you to turn this on and just make sure it's clicked on white. It's going to be a lot easier to create this infographic, and actually any image, when you already have like a white background to look at. Otherwise, you're looking at that grayish, blackish checkerboard background, which makes it hard to create images. So then I have this all set. I'm going to click Create. Now, before I move on, I'm going to actually go back to Home. And you see this showed up right here. Here's the title. I'm going to pin this right now to my history space. Why am I doing that? Because let's just say that you close out of Pixlr. Let's just say that Pixlr crashes on you. If that happens and you haven't pinned it, you're going to come back and go, I'm not doing this ever again. I'm done. You'd be so frustrated. By pinning it right away, it's automatically there. And it will update as you continue to build your infographics. So I'm going to open that up. Now, this is a big space, right? You have to think about what is your topic, how are you going to lay it out? Again, that goes back to those examples that we looked at. What are your 3 colors going to be? And now, when I talk about colors, I mean, what are your predominant colors? Okay, so think about that. I'm also going to take me, and I'm going to say, goodbye, Miss Vico, and get me out of the picture. All right, so of course, we know the first thing we do is we start with a layer. And I'm going to call this one, I'm just going to click on it and make it empty. Notice, though, that we have a white background, and that just helps us so much to be able to visualize and see what we're creating. So I'm going to name this one Background. And to be honest with you, I don't know what this layer 1 is. What happens if I turn it off? We don't know. I'm going to move my background below that layer, and I'm going to see if I can just use this layer to get started. Now, my background color, I thought about using a gradient. I feel like I might want to put in my background when I'm all done, but maybe I want to put it in now and then turn the layer off and on. Knowing I could do that, or that at any time I could make a change to the color of the background if things just don't look good. So maybe I will. I'm going to give it a try and put in my background color. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my color options. I picked on the foreground color. And I'm going to think about what 3 colors do I want to have. Well, I was playing around with this before. I think I decided I kind of like this green color. So I'm going to make this is going to be one of my options. And I'm going to say, okay, notice it changes the foreground color. Now I'm going to click on the background color and I'm going to add another color. Do you see that the color that I just chose, it keeps it right here for us so we can always go back to it. So I'm going to pick a color that goes along with this. Now this is a little trick about finding exact tints and shades. So I'm going to click back on that green. But now I'm going to move the slider bar up and down. And I know that wherever I land, it is going to go perfectly with that shade of green because it's in the exact same spot. Do you see that circle hasn't moved? I'm not saying you have to do this, it's just a little trick. So I think with that green, I'm going to go with orange. If I don't like this, I can always come back and try it again. So now I have green and orange. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to pick out one more color to go with this. So now my color palette's going to be right here. So I'm going to go back up here and what color should I pick with this? I'm going to go with this nice shade of blue. Okay. So even though my foreground color is blue and my background color is this orangish color, when I click on this and it opens up the color picker, do you see that all 3 colors I've chosen are kept right down here on the bottom of the color picker so that I can click on those anytime. And it just kind of makes a collection of the colors I'm using. So I am going to get started. I guess I can go with the blue, but I was thinking I wanted a gradient. So I'm going to make sure I click on the gradient and I'm going to make sure I'm on the background layer. And remember, you have options up here. I don't think I really like the way that looks with the orange, but I can go and, it doesn't give me the option of white. So all I have to do is go down here to this foreground color. I want it to be blue and white. So I just changed that up. Now I'm back here on the gradient, and it should give me this new option, and it does. Right here it is. So that's the one I want. So I'm just going to, I'm on my background layer, mess around with it. Do I like that? I kind of like that two-tone. Now, you don't have to use a gradient. You could use a solid color. It's totally up to you. I think I'm going to leave mine like this for now. I might want to come back and look at it, though. So now I have a background in here. So what I want to show you now is how you can use some of the tools in here to build images. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to, for example, let's just start with simple shapes. So I'm going to title this layer, I'm going to just call it circle. You do not have to build this. I'm just showing you some examples of tools, okay? Some best practices, though, is that you do name your layers. So I don't want a blue circle because I won't be able to see it. So I'm just going to pick a different color. Now, why would I want to use a shape? Maybe you want to use it as a background to highlight something in your infographic. I am going to now click on the shape. It's right here. When I click on it, you'll see at the top I have many different options. I think I am going to just call it a circle. Better stick with a circle. Now, here's something interesting. There's a button here called Fill, and I can turn it off and on. Let me show you what happens when I leave it on as Fill. A couple of things you should notice. One, the outside color, it's called a stroke, is actually the foreground color. The background color is actually what's filled in the circle. That's kind of strange, right? So if I wanted this entire circle to be orange, then I would want to take the stroke and turn it way down. And I know that the background color is what shines through, and I'm going to flip that around and make the background color the color I want the circle to be. So now you can see it's that color. Notice I I turned the stroke way down, and I left it on fill. Okay, so the stroke is at 0, the fill is turned on. Now, let's just say that I actually want the circle to have the stroke. Okay, I can leave it whatever I want. Just remember the background color is what it gets filled with. The top color then would be what the stroke is. So I want to show you what this looks like. The fill is still on. Then I can make a stroke pretty much anything I want it to be the size. And then I just make it. Now you can see that I have a white stroke around my circle, which is really not a circle. It looks more like an egg. If you want to make it perfectly circular, hold the Shift key down and it'll automatically adjust to make it perfectly circular. Okay, so that was, again, to make it perfectly circular, you hold the Shift key down. All right, that's enough about circle. One more thing about circles. Let's take a look now. If I don't want this filled and I just want a circle outline, I turn off the fill. And again, I can adjust the size of it. It's called the stroke. It goes around the outside. I can adjust that size and make it thicker if that's what I want. If I want to hold it so it's perfectly circular, I hold the Shift key down. If I want it to be more oblong, maybe I want to, oh, hey, look, it looks like a halo. Kind of reminds you of me, right? Just kidding. So now you can see that you can manipulate these shapes. You can do the same thing with the star, the heart, and the line. Okay, so you can do a lot of different things with each one of these. And again, the uses might be that you're going to put text on top of one of these. And it's just going to be the backdrop for highlighting a fact or some information you want to know. Let's take a look. I'm going to go over to my text tool and just show you how easy this is. So my text tool, I click on Add Text, and we get this annoying little box here, but it's okay because now I can change the color of the text right up here. Notice when I'm on the T tool, the color option is at the top. Maybe I'll turn that to black. Okay. I can also mess around with the font that I want. To make it work, you have to double click inside. And I can maybe pick out a font that looks like this. And what's cool about this is notice, because I highlighted, I kind of like that. I'm going to go with that. Because I highlighted that text whenever I move along the different font styles. Oh, that's not the one I want. Which one was it that I liked? No. There it is. Arm race. Interesting. So I'm going to just pick that one because I like it. And now I can type in here and say whatever I want. Maybe this is where I want my title to be. Copyright. And then I could move my text down to where I want it to be. And I could probably even then adjust it, maybe, by going back to the text tool, highlighting it. Then I can make it bigger, make the text bigger to fit it. So, whoa, that's not going to work so much, is it? But I can make it larger to fit inside that box, go back to the Move tool, and then I can move it around. Okay? Notice, because it's a text layer, it automatically titled it for us and created its own new layer. So that's using shapes, playing around with the shapes. How do you get them to be colored in? Putting a stroke around them, and then putting text with it. Now, I'm going to show you one more thing. When we start to get into so many more layers and you're building an image with multiple layers, you're going to want to be able to merge them. Okay? So I want to be able to merge the copyright and the circle layer together. To do that, I'm going to go to Layer, and you're going to see that you have some options. Right here it says Merge Down, Merge Visible, Flatten Image. Well, what we want to do is we're going to be merging it visible. But I'll come back to that in a second. Because if we were to merge it visible right now, and you look over in the Layers panel, that means that I'd be merging everything with the background layer, and I don't want to do that. Okay, I don't want to do that. So now I'm going to go over and I'm going to turn off my background layer. And I'm going to go back to layer, and then I'm going to merge visible. And now I have these layers are merged, and I can move them around. I can't move them around. Oh boy. Okay, well, I'll be cutting this part out. 15, 16. Alrighty, so we won't be starting with shit, that means I have to do the whole thing over again. Okay, pick it up here. Okay, so now you can see that I have different layers, and now I've shown you how to play around with the shapes. Okay, so that's what you want to make sure that you're using these shapes as accent pieces, something behind your text. Make things stand out. Put your titles in there. Put information and facts in there. By the way, I want you to notice how well the colors all go together, and that's because I picked the same tint of each one of the colors. So that's one thing. Now I'm going to turn these layers off because I want to show you how to use shapes to actually build an image. Little tips and tricks. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to, of course, have it be empty, but I am going to title this, and I'm going to call this face. I'm going to show you how to make a face with different shapes. And again, this is not something you have to do. This is just showing you some extra tips and tricks with Pixlr, things you could do. Well, I'm still on the shape layer. I'm going to go down and I'm going to pick out like a face color. Whatever color face you would like to have, you go ahead and find that face. For the sake of this, I'm going to make it this color. Now, remember, I'm going to be using the circle, right? I'm going to turn off the stroke because I don't want that to be stroked out. Now, I don't want the fill. I actually do want the fill on. But remember now, I want the background color is what the fill is. So I'm going to click on this so that my foreground color becomes the background. So here's the color I want. Now I'm going to start to build this face. I'm on the circle. I'm going to hold down the Shift key so I make it perfectly circular. Though, again, if I didn't want it to be perfectly circular, I could just make a face like this. You know what? Maybe that's a little more interesting. I think I like that better. And I'm just anal about this, so I'm going to move it to the center. Okay, so now I have the beginning of a face. I'm going to make another new layer. Empty, of course. And now I am going to give myself some eyes. I'll click on the background color so that I can pick, I'm going to make it blue. I have blue eyes, I'll take blue. And I am back on my circle. Notice layer 5, I'm going to call this eye. I'll show you why it's only called one eye. Okay, so I'm going to put in a circle here. Maybe, yeah, that looks good. I'll make it perfectly circle. Okay, I have one eye. I want the other eye to be identical to this eye. Now, before I duplicate the layer, I'm going to finish off building this eye. So this time, I'm going to take that background layer, turn it to a grayish black, like that. Now I'm going to make that little pupil thing inside my eye. Okay, I'm still on the same layer. I'm on the circle, and I'm going to go really close into this, and I am just going to make, I don't like the way that got placed, so I undid that. Oh, there, I'll be looking up, right? Okay, so now I have this eye made, and I want to have a duplicate eye because, you know, who doesn't want to have an exact eyeball on the other side of your head? So I'm going to click on this, right click on this, and do you see where it gives you the option down here? Right here, duplicate layer. Don't confuse it with the trash can. But I'm going to duplicate this layer. It calls it iCopy. Now I have two. I'm going to go to the Move tool. Because this is a small image, I'm just going to use the arrow key to move this over. Okay, look at that. I now have two eyes. I need a mouth. Well, I know that when I am on these shapes, I see a heart. Do you know that a heart makes the most beautiful lips in the world? So I'm going to click on this. Remember, I'm going to go down to the background color, and I'm going to change it. And I think that my lips are going to be kind of maybe a little dark, maybe a little pinky. What color are my lips? All right, I'm going to go with that color. That looks good to me. Now, I need the stroke to be off completely. I need the fill on. Here is this. Do you know what I need to do? I need to make another layer and call this lips. So now I'm on this layer, and I am just going to kind of draw where I think the lips should go. I'm going to move this over. So now this time it's kind of weird. If I hold the shift key down, I can make my lips be really, different instead of making it a perfect heart. So that's exactly what I want to do because my lips are not a perfect heart. So I'm going to move this over. I also know that I need to bring my lips down. Truth be told, my eyeballs should be down a little bit too, but I can do that later. Okay, see, I now have lips. So now I'm going to have a nose. And noses are really hard to do. I know they are. But all you have to do is have a suggestion of a nose. So I am going to go back to, this time I'm going to go to the foreground color because I'm going to be using text and a letter to make the nose. I know that sounds weird, right? So I'm going to click on the text. I'm going to add text. Don't worry that it's huge. But now I want to have like a similar color to my face. So I'm going to click on that color I used. I'm going to make my nose stand out just a little from my face, so I need to move that down a bit, picking up just a little different color. So now I'm back on my T tool. I'm going to click inside of here. And I know that the letter C makes a fabulous nose. You could always use an E, an uppercase E too for some of these. So let me put in a C. Okay? That's not exactly the way I want my nose to look. So again, oopsie, I have to double click inside of here. I want to highlight what I've got. Now watch when I kind of scroll through. Ooh, that might make an interesting nose. You have to kind of turn your head a bit and envision it being a nose. I don't like that. That's not a great nose in my world. I'm just going to go with, which one was I on? This one. I kind of like that one for a nose. Okay, it's kind of big, but that's okay. We'll adjust it. Now I'm going to take this, and I'm going to turn it and drag it down. That is not a good nose. Looks like maybe a bull ring through her poor eyeballs. So again, I'm going to hold the shift key down, and I can make this smaller. In this case, I think I have to making it smaller. I'm going to put it back down here where it belongs so I can get the right size. So now I think the best thing I can do is use the slider bar up here and turn it to the right size that I want it to be. I think that's a nice dainty little nose. So there you go. Now I have a nose on my face. I'm looking pretty good. So now I want to add some hair. Hair is tough. You could use lines to make hair. We can do something else. So now I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to call this hair. Okay. Which color hair should I have? I think I'll go with a brown. So find the color that you want for your hair. Say okay. When I click on the paintbrush tool, I'm going to find out I have a lot of options for different paintbrushes. I clicked on the paintbrush tool. Don't confuse it with a pen tool. Make sure it's on the paintbrush. I'm going to click up here and I'm going to find the different options that I have. When I scroll down, I see I have some different options that I can use for paintbrushes. So I think that this one right here is going to make some interesting looking hair. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to make it a little smaller too. Okay, let's get ready. Ooh, that's still too big. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I'm going to make some hair. So I'm just going to stack some hair around my face, fill in some areas. Not bad, right? I'm feeling like I need some highlights in my hair, so I'm going to take that and give it some highlights. We'll go with that color for highlights. And I'm still on that layer, and I'm just going to kind of give it some texture in here. Whoopsie, I don't like where that one went. So now you can see that I have now given myself some hair, and with some highlights, no less. All right, I'm looking pretty ravishing. So what I want to do now is I want to give myself a dress. I need some clothes. And I'm going to make this part pretty fast, okay? So to give myself some clothes, I'm going to make another layer. And I know it goes to the top. And I'm going to call this dress because the dress is pretty easy to make. Okay. And I'll just flip these around and give myself a red dress. And this time I'm going to go back to these shapes as well. This time I'll take a triangle. I do want it filled, so I'm just going to, kittens, that's right, it does it from the background. Flip that bugger back around. Now I can make my dress. Okay. What I don't like is my dress is on top of my chin. So what do I need to do? You're right, I need to move my dress layer below my face layer. There, voila. I now have a dress. I can continue to build on this person by using the, turning this to a color that you might want for legs. I'll just pick gray legs because it's a color. And then I can go back to my shape, pick on the line. This time I'm going to want this to be turned up so that my legs aren't little stubbies. So there's one leg. Now I can continue and build this by adding arms. I can add another leg. I could use a round circle or make it an oval, and I could add shoes if I wanted to. You don't need to get too detailed, but these are just some simple tips and tricks that you can use to help build your portfolios. Sorry about that, scratch that, your infographic. There's one other tool that I want to show you. I'm going to click back on the dress. There's something called burn and dodge, and it's different effects. And what that does, so right here we have, not this, let me see where it is in here. That doesn't look like, Burn and dodge. I'm going to click on this and it's going to give me the options up here. So to dodge means to make it lighter. So let's just say that I have a light source coming down or right underneath her chin. We want it to be a little lighter. Do you see what's happening when I move the cursor back and forth? You can also do this to add in little details too. I've given her some design now. Now, these tools are kind of tricky to use, but feel free to play around with them. The default on this is 30. That's called the strength. And that means that it will lighten things really fast. If I move this down and I continue to give her, you can see that it's much more subtle. You can see that the lines I'm making are much more subtle than before. So that's called the dodge tool. It lightens. Now let's just say that I want to add some shadows in because I can see there are shadows in something. I'm going to go over, we're still on the burn and dodge tool, dodge and burn. I'm going to click up here on darken. Okay? And this automatically, I think it stayed with what I had. So watch what happens when it darkens. Can you see it subtly getting a little bit darker? Remember, the higher this number, the strength number is, the faster it's going to, in this case, burn. The other thing you can do is you can turn the size of the brush up. Sometimes that's beneficial. Now you can see that it's just taking and burning big chunks of it. So that, again, is more that you can do with Pixlr to manipulate your images. So I hope this has helped. This tutorial has helped. Again, just a reminder, you do not have to make a person. I just know that sometimes people like to put people in jail, or maybe there's a person that you want in yours. I just wanted to show you that there are different components in Pixlr that you can use to build images. Play around, have fun. Just like I said, have fun. And let me know if you have any questions. All right, take care, over and out. Happy infograph making. Oops, one more thing. I'm gonna have to back this sucker up and fix this. So, we forgot to, how can I do this? Okay, so I wanna show you one more thing about using the burn and dodge. Some people really like to think about, with infographics, if you're doing consequences, some people like to make jail bars. I want to show you what you can do with the burn and dodge tool, actually with the dodge tool, that will help give it perspective. So I'm going to change the background color because I'm going to make some lines. I don't want to do exactly black because you can't burn or dodge pure colors. So I'm going to make it just a little different and not make it pure. So I'm going to make one more layer, and I'm just going to call this bar. Okay. So again, this is just another thing that you can use Pixlr for to help you create your infographic. So let's just say I wanted to be able to show some depth to some lines. So I'm going to go back to my shape tool, and I'm on the line tool. This time I know that I want to have a pretty thick line. So let me see. I also forgot that the line tool pulls from the foreground color. Oh goodness. Always have to play around with things. But I also know that I need to turn the stroke up so I can make this thicker. So that looks pretty good to me. So let's just say that this is the beginning of my jail, if that's what I were going to use. But it just looks like a stick. I'm going to go back to the burn and dodge tool, dodge and burn. Now I know that I want to be on lighten. I also know that this brush is far too big for this, so I want to make it smaller. And I'm just going to lighten the very edges. Do you kind of see it coming? Okay, so that side. So now it's kind of giving it some 3D look. That wasn't great, but you'd have to practice with it. I got too much up in here. Anyway, again, let's just say I have a 3-bar jail. I'm going to take this layer just to reinforce duplicating layers. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to click on the duplicate layer, and now I have 2 bars. I know I want 3, so I'll duplicate this layer again. Now I can go to the move bar, the move tool, and I can move this over like this. Click on this one, and I can move this over. So now you can see that I'm building, I don't have to repeat the process of continually building these images, and I have the beginnings of a fabulous jail. I just thought of something. I wonder if I can put her in jail. I've got this. Can I continue to stretch these up? Can I make them bigger? Don't know that. You could do it in Photoshop. Ooh, I can. Oh, and then they get really fat. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down, which did not help at all. Anyway, you can play around with this. Looks like you can make it bigger. Do the same thing with this. Oh my goodness. This poor girl is behind bars. Clearly, she did some nasty copyright, breaking copyright. She probably got jail. What do you think? She probably wouldn't be smiling though, right? So now we have her behind bars. She's behind the bars. You know what's one thing interesting, that if this is what you were going to do, if you're going to make jail bars for consequences, you could actually put some of your facts right on each one of these bars. Just another thought for layout. All right, folks, remember, give me a shout out with an email if you need to, and you have other really pressing questions. We could do a quick Google Meet. Otherwise, don't forget Tuesday's class, next week, Tuesday, the week of Thanksgiving. It's an optional class, but I highly suggest if you are struggling with this or you want other tips and tricks that you join the class, and I can help you out. All right, that's it. It is 5 o'clock almost on Wednesday night. I hope all of you guys had a great day off today, and I will see you for sure on Tuesday, if not before. Take care. Bye.